Hello.
No, no small feat for you, I'm sure, right?
I've done one or two Facebook Lives.
Just done one or two Facebook lives out there. Well,
Oh my God.
I'm gonna go
Good.
share this like a gazillion places on the internet real quick.
All
Uh,
right.
Guys, I'm looking forward to today. My very close friend and guest today, Katerina Satoria, and she's coming to us all the way from Laguna Beach, California. Love it out there. It's like a second home. I might as well get a residence. So I've been to California at least a dozen times in the past year. My kids think I live there, so go figure.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
Without further ado, Katerina is actually came to us all the way from Russia, and has brought her kind of like an interesting journey she's been on. She's going to share her secrets on she's been able to develop her VIP line basically to her own events now at this point. From standing in to now people are waiting to come see her. So Katerina, I just want to say thank you for taking the time out of your day to talk to me and share a little bit about your story. And I'm sure we're going to have some interesting people ask some questions along the way too. So the
Oh,
first question I
yay.
got for you, just kind of getting started, is what got you excited to come over to the United States all the way from Russia? I mean, what was that decision point of like, I mean, you're in Russia, Mother Russia, and you come to the United States. I mean, like to get for somebody to leave a country, to leave everything behind. You left your family, you left your mom, you left your sibling, you have nieces back there now. Like, what was the big decision point for you to make that leap?
Hmm. That was actually really easy, Daryl.
Was
The
it? It was that bad?
the decision point was easy. The journey was the most trialing journey of my life. But the decision, and once, thank you so much for having me on this in this conversation. I'm super excited about it. Just wanted to acknowledge you. I had this inner knowing from a very early age that Russia was not my land. It was this feeling that I was dropped in the wrong country, like literally. So I felt very misplaced, and it just didn't feel like home. It felt like a training ground. You're a Marine. It felt like I was dropped in some kind of boot camp, just to build my character, develop what I call an immigrant hustle and humility, really develop humility. I come from pretty much nothing, come from poverty. When the Soviet Union collapsed, we were in a really dire situation. And I was raised by a single mom who always worked two jobs to raise me and my sister. So it was an easy decision for me to leave the country because when I was growing up, number one, I already felt in my body, in my awareness, that it's not my home. And number two, when I saw how my parents lived and I saw what was going on with the country, I realized from a very early age that it's going to take 3 lifetimes living in that country to reach the level of opportunity and freedom and expansion that my soul demanded. And I was always kind of like an old soul. I trusted my guidance from a very early age. And when I realized that, I decided, if I will learn a language that I can speak anywhere in the world, it's going to open the doors for me. So, how do you get out of poverty? You develop a skill set, right? Through books, through tapes, through chasing foreigners on the street. And you just develop a first skill set that will set you free. And for me, it was learning English, literally on my own, just by sheer determination, and then the
You
doors.
didn't know any English before you came to the United States.
No, I did. I had a conversational English. I did. Yeah, because I volunteered as translator back in Russia. So English came to me very easy. Once again, it's like, if you ever believe in past lives or parallel lives, I have a feeling that was my my previous lifetime.
Mhm.
But the journey to the country itself was not easy, was challenging, and it tested a lot of my faith and courage. And something really powerful it taught me, when you have nothing to lose, you go all the way, you go beyond the point of giving up, and that was my training ground.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you came over here, you barely knew English. I mean, how much money did you have in your pocket when you came to the United States?
Uh, well, I came to the United States and I was flying to Alaska because I had a summer job there, you know, that would like I would work all summer to pay for my college in Europe. And I miscalculated, Daryl. I didn't realize I had to take one more plane. I thought I would arrive to Juneau and I'm there. And I'm arriving there and I'm realizing I have to take one more small plane. And I remember looking at the cash that I had with my hands shaking because, you know, I am a visitor in this country. I don't have credit cards. I have nobody to call. So literally what I have on me is what I have. And I'm counting the money and I had enough to pay for that second plane. And when I looked what I had left, I had $3.
Wow.
And that was my entrance to this country. And you know, I remember not feeling any fear. I remember getting on that plane and saving crackers on the plane because I had no idea when my meal would come. But I had this deep inner confidence if higher force brought me to that point, took me across the border, that $3 is a really good start. You know what I mean?
And the pack of crackers.
And the pack of crackers.
Did they give you peanuts at least?
No, there were no peanuts on that
no
flight.
Peanuts.
Just crackers. Yeah. Yeah. So that's how my life
You arrived
began.
in Alaska, which is, you know, as everybody knows, geographically for the United States is a little bit separated from the rest of the country, right? And you get there, you've got a pack of crackers and $3 in your pocket. What's your next steps?
Dragging my little suitcase, walking to the hotel because obviously I can't afford the taxi. And I had a job there. I had a housekeeping job that was waiting for me there, you know, but I would get my first paycheck in 2 weeks. Once again, it's just pure trust, you know, like something gets activated in you. It's like this absolutely crazy enthusiasm and survival instinct. And I remember I made this decision. I was like, I'm going to make it. I don't know how, but I will make it.
So you're doing $3 and pack of crackers. How did you get through the 2 weeks before you actually even get a paycheck?
Yeah. Well, the manager of the hotel agreed.
2 weeks before you actually even get a paycheck.
Oh, we got a little feedback. We're good? Yeah. I think we're good, right? I'll wait for your signal to go on with my story.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you beautifully.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I cut out for a second there. I was sharing it on the internet, the interweb that's out there. So at this point in time, I mean, you came from that. What was the biggest thing that helped you along the way? Because that's what everybody wants to know. I mean, you've had a lot of success now. You transformed all these people's lives that are out there. You've helped me in multiple different ways. Continue to help me. And what was some of the lessons you would like share if somebody was sitting down with you right now, and you're going to help them? You know, because there's people out there and they are at their last, you know, dollar. They are at that pack of crackers and they're going to listen to this. And it's like to listen to where you're at to where you're at today. What were some of the defining moments that you did along the way that helped you get to where you're at?
The defining moment for me was to realize there is no such a thing as rock bottom unless you create that experience in your own mind. And no matter how low you will get in life, because life will teach you by beating the crap out of you sometimes. And no matter how low life will take you, you can find that inner resolve to say, tomorrow is going to come and I will wake up in the morning and I will have a creative idea. And it's basically like sculpting what you got with what you have. And, you know, for me, it was always this inner faith. No matter what you believe, you know, I believe in the divine and the source consciousness, right? In yourself. make that strong, because you know what I went through, Daryl, just like as you had so many shitstorms in your life, as I call them, right? That prepared me for an entrepreneurship path, which is the ultimate roller coaster and unknown. And plus, now that I serve high level leaders who have a lot of responsibility on their shoulders, and I step in the darkness with them when their life and their leadership takes them through the rings of fire. And I can hold that space for them and with them, because I know that there is no such a thing as a rock bottom unless you decide to believe in that reality. So, you know, like my goal is to always remind people that there is a power bigger than them. And if they believe that they are these helpless humans, then the reality looks very, very gloom. You can lose hope, right? But you know, if you remember that there is a higher power, there is something that brought you to life. There is something that carried you until this point. And that would help me. You know, when I got off that plane in Alaska, it was $3, bag of crackers, and an ultimate unknown. I remember I told myself, Katerina, and I was like 20, 22 at that time. And I told myself, Katerina, if the higher power brought you until this point, can't you trust that it's going to carry you through? And simply through logic, like I can be a very analytical woman, like 1 + 1 = 2. If I got to this point, there is some kind of higher power that guides me. And that, you know, really helped me to take major risks in life. You know, if you're an entrepreneur, you gotta develop a big capacity to take outrageous risks that most people will not understand and think you're crazy and irresponsible and all of that bullshit. But you have to trust your inner guidance. And I would say that's the main thing, because then if you know that inner world is strong, you can take big, massive, outrageous risks that lead you to quantum leaps on your business and life.
What's the biggest time where you just got smacked down and hit down to the canvas and you had to climb back up from?
Ooh.
If you take us back to that time, it was like, man, I mean, this is a low part of my entrepreneur journey. You're like just kind of maybe floundering like a little bit. I mean, like, because a lot of people have a trouble with confidence, or they'll have a problem is like, oh, should that be me out there teaching or spreading, you know, my passion and where I'm at? Or am I the person that should be teaching and coaching these other people to help them have all this success? I mean, like all of a sudden, like there had to be a point where it was like that, man, am I there? Is that me? Where am I at? You know, a lot of entrepreneurs go through that. You know, where was that point for you where you finally just broke through and realized that, you know, no, I am in that person. I am able to coach people at this high level. I am able to help people have this 7-figure success in their businesses.
You know, Daryl, I think there were many defining moments, and this acceleration happened in stages, which I think our higher self and our higher consciousness really monitors that process, because if we take too sudden of leaps, we can overload our nervous system. You know, that's why you have like some celebrities that collapse. They cannot handle that much instant fame on that much spotlight. So I really feel, once again, I come back to that inner world. Keep building that inner world so you can hold the power and responsibility that will be granted to you. It's not going to be granted to you all at once. You know, what's that good book that is so ancient that says, if you're faithful in small, you're going to be trusted in big? And, you know, I really, really took that to heart, Daryl. And I was like, whoever life would brought to me for guidance, for service, I would serve them with all my heart. And I continue following that principle. You know, it's sometimes we can get trapped in the trap of chasing, you know, a better client or a better opportunity or a better event, and completely not showing up fully what life brings us right now. So I think it starts with you showing up so fully to even the littlest task that the universe trusts you first. And you honor your progress, you honor your journey. But if you want to know what was the biggest breakthrough for me, I would say my biggest breakthrough when I made a decision to own my value, to stop going at it alone. Just like many entrepreneurs, I can be incredibly fucking stubborn. And so
Not you. You're
oh,
stubborn at times.
I just wanted to see if anybody's listening. Yeah, I can be very stubborn and very prideful. And I believe for us entrepreneurs and visionaries, pride can hold us back the most. I had to reach, my back to the end of the wall because I took myself as far as I could, through just going to other people's events, taking online courses, like kind of dabbling in things, but not really committing to, hey, I want this mentor and I'm gonna go and I don't know how I'm gonna afford this mentor. Usually that's the best decision you make. You hire a mentor that you can't afford or you think you can't.
Yeah.
And then you have no choice but to make it happen because every month a few grand coming out of your account and your booty is on fire. You're gonna make things happen.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it was this defining moment where I invested everything to my name. It's a classic story of entrepreneurial journey. I was already like 100K in just through my savings, all of it. And there was a moment of turning pro. You know that book, Steven Pressfield? I've read that book and I remember that my decision, I took the last $5,000 out of my 401k, invested in a marketing course that promised to teach me traffic, which was completely unnecessary for me to learn. But you buy into a dream, you're like, if I just get really good at running my own traffic, maybe that's the solution. And you and I both know that's not a solution.
That's not the answer, no.
Especially if you're a solopreneur, come on.
Correct.
You know what I mean? But I think it was the big one where I found myself at the empty coaching practice and I was so ready to up level and play up, and I had to become the client that I desired to have. So I went and I already knew the mentor that I wanted to hire. And I went and I said, hey, my pride is done holding me back. I really need support. Because what I found is, as you know, Daryl, it's really hard to see your own strategy. You can be the best strategist for everybody else, every client of yours. You can have this laser vision for them, but for yourself, it's like looking at the magnifying mirror, right? You can't see your own strategy. It's very, very hard to do. And that was really powerful. I just burned all the bridges. I know it's a classic story, but it's archetypal journey of a hero's journey that has to burn the boat and go into the distant land and fight these dragons, right? And fight their own demons, and then come back to the land, come back to the people and share this lesson. So it was exactly like my path. When you have nothing to lose, there is something unlocks in you. And I remember when I hired my coach and I had literally enough to pay for a deposit and 2 months of coaching. And at that time, I remember thinking, one day I will launch my retreat. And in my mind, it was like 2 years out. I launched it in 2 months. And this is the power of this audacity to go for it and compressing the time. You were at my first event. You remember?
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, it was great. I saw people and life-changing, and I still connect with them on Facebook. Just saw a video Joseph was posting earlier today. So,
yeah. And I remember the moment on the day 2 when you ran into me like in the hallway, and you're like, what's going on with you? What's going on with this face? And I was so in my head, and I think it's a great time to share it. It was so good to have you there, because there was a moment where my nervous system was getting overwhelmed, and I really started getting into my head thinking, do people get value? And I started doubting myself. And it's just one moment of doubt can absolutely throw you off the game. And you just read it in me. You just read my face. So like, okay, you come here. And you took me outside and you did your magic, and you just connected me back to my heart and to my mission. And I went out there and crushed it and made an offer. my very first offer at the event.
And everybody took it.
Yeah. Which is so fantastic, but thank you so much for being there for me.
You're welcome.
It's been really powerful to experience your work and the power of your support and your friendship.
Well, thank you. I have to echo the same thing to you, because it's been helpful having that coach on, see those blind spots. It's like the New England Patriots would not fire, Bill Belichick to coach them. And he's won 5, Super Bowls now at this point. And, you're not going to get rid of the coach. So that's another thing that's out there, is like, even the Patriots, have 5 Super Bowl successes like that, and just a track record for having success with this coach, is they got there because they invested in the coach. And it's having that coach to be able to get the players out on the field to be able to, live into their visions. So tell us about some of the people on your field that you've been playing with, and how you've helped change some of their lives. You've been sharing some of the stories with me, which is always awesome to hear. You had somebody recently, they were literally in tears after they made their first big sale. And tell us further about some of the people you're working with.
Well, it's fascinating, Daryl, because my demographic recently has changed really drastically. I would say for the first couple of years on this journey, I was focusing mostly on working with men, high achieving men, on their relationship, spirituality, awakening process, emotions, all that kind of stuff. And recently, I think it began last year when I began opening up to working with women. And I had resistance to it. I think I had a little bit of wrong perception of what kind of women that I would dread working with. Too much estrogen and too much drama and too much complaining. I don't do well with that environment. But then I realized, hey, I'm going to attract probably somebody who's similar like me, right? Somebody who's also independent and very driven and ambitious. And the more I opened up, just slowly by slowly, and recently when I start really just focusing more on business, because people would come to me and say, hey, we see that you're actually doing something that works. Can you tell us how you do it? Everything I teach is like that, Daryl. It's organic. I keep my hand on the pulse of the tribe, of the community, and I just really pay attention to what people looking for, and I think that's one of the most powerful way you can serve people, is being aware and really asking them. So my entire demographic changed recently, and these really incredible women start stepping up and walking towards me. And now I lead a mixed group, both men and women. And I absolutely enjoy training people on business. So I basically operate in this kind of a triangle. For people who don't know my work, it's higher consciousness, so spirituality, awakening. We have leadership, right? And we have business. And I think they all flow together really beautifully, right? And when it comes to business, I focus on high ticket skill set, high ticket sales, and high ticket events, because I've never found a more powerful skill to teach somebody, to give them a direct path to financial freedom. And I really, really love empowering women with that, because something happens when a woman becomes financially free. It unlocks her radiance. It unlocks her confidence in a whole new way. And more than anything, she makes very different choices in men. Mm-hmm. That's powerful, because then she chooses a man not for what he can get, provide, buy, rescue, all of that crap. She chooses a man as a partner and as a co-creator in her vision, empire, right? So it's very, very powerful what happens when a woman becomes financially free. And I've yet to see such more fulfilling and deep work when I saw, my beautiful client, Erica, been building this business for since 2008. And she's a powerhouse intimacy coach, powerful gifts, massive gifts. And her stories was so similar to mine, been stuck in the low ticket coaching with informational products that nobody wants, and just really feeling defeated, doing all these random jobs to support her. And when she called me and said that she enrolled her first 15K client, this is the most amount of money she's made since 2008 with her business. So imagine the liberation and freedom. And I'll never forget that moment. And to me, this is what my heart beats for, is to see my students and the people that I serve, to see them rise and to see them becoming free. Ultimately, I've read that a good teacher will want to keep students. An extraordinary teacher will do everything to finally get rid of his students.
Mm-hmm.
So my goal is to train my people in a way that they do not need me. However, it's going to take a 6 months, a year, 3 months. But then after that, it is my duty to set them free and say, you know what, you can stand on your own 2 feet. Now go and pass on the torch and keep that energy moving. And I really believe in that, and so it's really powerful to see my women clients rise. I worked with clients who came from platinum membership of Tony Robbins to the high level of mastermind of Brandon Bouchard. And it's interesting because, those are great containers, but they seem to find me. They seem to find me and they say, I get more value here. And I think it's because of the personal touch, that people receive, and this personal, genuine care for them, that they're not just a number in this game. You know what I mean? And that people never forget.
Yeah.
And that goes back to, hey, be faithful and small. And the divine always expands your mission, knowing that you're faithful in small.
Mm-hmm. That's the intimacy that you're able to create at these events that you have like that, by keeping them with the core group of people that have really good energy. And that was one of the things I really noticed from being there in person, was the energy of the people and just everybody sharing. And it was very, very family-like, and it was the gooselings, right? That you kick out of the nest and get it moving. So because, you kicked out, you jumped off your own nest, and that was one of the things that I admire about you, is that you were, you faced those fears. And I still have up my wall. You said to me that day, and I'll never forget, you said, if you don't have any, you're not playing big enough.
If you don't have any fears.
Yeah. And it was just that one little tweak. And I was like, damn it, because I just realized, for me, like, fear is motivation. So it's something like I enjoy to do. So it's like a challenge. You go swim with sharks, jump up an airplane. It was like, I'm in, whatever the crazy thing is or whatever. I'm like, the hell with it. Burn the ships. That's what life's all about, is burning the ships. I mean, I've got more burnt ships behind me. I don't even have a ship anymore. I just swim. So,
What about a canoe?
Canoe. I love the canoe, baby. So I'm all about the canoe. I go canoeing all the time. So, but just going out there in the water and just being at peace, So tell us about the water event coming up in Kauai and how that's progressing, because that just sounds amazing. And I just really excited to hear more about that and the energy, because I know you're flying around the helicopter checking out the island. I mean, that was super cool looking. So tell us about the event coming up that's going to be in Kauai.
Yes, thank you for asking. Well, I get to do them twice, kind of, every time before I go any location that I choose, I feel guided to choose. I go there and I meet the local team. I experience all the adventures I'm going to take. So I basically kind of supervise every detail in a way, because I want to experience what I'm going to offer to my people to make sure it's the highest level and it's the most incredible experience for them, right? So this is kind of a standard that I have. But all of my retreats, Daryl, they have this energy of a soul sanctuary, a soul family, where you really go and you can just be you. You can be as incognita. If you are an influencer, I create my events in a way that you can be totally incognito. You will not even see yourself on any social media, on video, on camera. If that's what your preference, you can be as private as you'd like. You don't even need to tell anybody who you are. So it's really powerful for influencers, because they have to be, often they feel the pressure to be on 24/7, and it's very hard for them to relax. It's almost like I'm inspired to recreate what Richard Branson does on his island,
okay.
But my own little version, Katerina Satoria version, where people who lead movements, people who constantly being the lighthouse and being these leaders for others, they can be human at my events, and they can actually just drop in into their most authentic self, and they can refuel on soul level. And my goal is to provide experiences for them that really boosts their innovation, that opens up that creative channel for them. And my events are very intimate, as you know. Usually it can be as little as 5 people to as big as 15. Big in my book, right?
Big in your book.
But there is this beautiful intimacy and the beautiful power in a small, intimate gathering. And it's also my responsibility as a guardian of the container to be very, very precise in who will match with who, So I take a very careful and diligent process of really making sure that every person who comes, they're there for the right reason, and they will match with everybody else. So it's incredible. But all my events, Daryl, it's very fluid. Create a really powerful schedule that addresses the connection to the soul, and different spiritual topics, and the rejuvenation of the body, and adventure for the inner child. But everything I do is very fluid, and I say, hey, if you want to participate in everything, please. But if you just want to show up for one activity and take the rest of the retreat, be in your own place, because that's what your soul requires you to do, I encourage you to take what you need. So I give my guests ultimate freedom to be as engaged in the experience, or as free-flowing. And even that gives people a really beautiful experience, because they can just decide on their own what they need. Mm-hmm. And they can just be free.
What are some of the cool things you're going to do while you're in Kauai, some of the events and some of the things you're doing? Because I saw some of the pictures and it looked like a lot of fun.
Yes. Well, I'm all about, hey, what can we do to feel really, really alive, right? We're going to stay literally 20 minutes from the most incredible spot called the Grand Canyon of the Pacific. It's national park that once you're there, you're just speechless. You're like, what is going on here? So waterfalls, this beautiful hiking, right? We're staying in 27 acres of this oasis setting, surrounded by the gorgeous trees and the quiet, tranquil environment. We're gonna take helicopters, right? And fly over the island. We're gonna do zip line, which I've done for the very first time. And I was a little bit chicken out at first, but the second time I'm going to do the whole flying thing and all of that. Yeah, we're also going to tap into our creativity. We're going to have conscious painting workshop, and different expeditions and surprises and fire dancing shows, and, different bonfires, everything that really unites us as a group, right? And opens up higher awareness, and opens up this feeling of communion, because what I find, Daryl, is lost, especially for us entrepreneurs, is this experience of communion between aligned spirits, between aligned people, right? We're so digitally disconnected in a way. We feel connected digitally, but what we crave the most is the times by the fire, where we tell stories, we connect through the heart, or we pick up a brush and paint something in the nature, or, we feel the thrill flying above the treetops. All those experiences that really bring us back into the body, back into this reality, and give us kind of a reset. Entire being gets reset, and you come back and you're like, I'm going to launch this, and I'm going to launch that, and I am so alive, and I feel reconnected with my soul. That's why I do these events, That's why. Because when I see, I had this recent epiphany, Daryl, I'll share with you this, is that the most dangerous leaders right now are exhausted leaders, and leaders who haven't tended to their soul for a really, really long time. Because when you build an empire, as you know, a lot of things get sacrificed in the process. A lot of things do. So I create these soul oases experiences for them to refuel and to reconnect back to their heart and reconnect back to their vision. and then they feel restored, and they go and they fly even higher than before.
So true. That's absolutely truth. I've seen that a lot with entrepreneurs, especially they basically hit this burnout and they've stayed behind their desks or computer, their office, and they think that's what it's all about, and they just burn out. I've seen that a lot of times, and oftentimes they just crash. And that's the times where they lose the most money, the most relationships. Sometimes families get decimated because of it. If they don't take the time and that inner part to kind of take that business boondoggle, as I like to call it, a little bit, where you get a chance to rejuvenate yourself. What are some of the ways you've actually built the tribe around and the following that you have now to have people contacting you and reaching out to you about events like this?
All organic, Daryl. All organic. I see my Facebook is my main way to connecting with my community. And I see it as a lighthouse. Like if you follow my Facebook, you will never see any random post there. Like there's no ranting, there's no politics, there's nothing negative. It's like my focus is continue beaming this lighthouse energy, because what I feel leadership is all about is two things. Leaders remind people what's really important. Leaders give people hope. So everything I share is inspiring through that. Hey, what can I remind people what's really important? Can I remind them there is no rock bottom, that they can still rise, that they can learn, that there is hope in the world. And I just kept beaming this light. And when you beam the light consistently, the ships will begin to come to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's the law of the universe. It's just really the law of the universe. So I would say that's how it happened to me. To my tribe. And then the more I became to share very, very authentically about my message, like for the longest time, I would keep my metaphysical and the spiritual side kind of on the back burner, because the last thing I would want, Daryl, is to be labeled as another new age chick. That's the last thing that I would want. But the message of spirit and message of inner world and making this more powerful to create your reality, I'm all about that. This is what kept me going until this point. So the moment I gave myself permission to say, screw this, let me share the message that's really gonna come through, no matter if half of the following will disappear. It's okay. People who will resonate, they will resonate. And the more I start sharing this authentic and raw and real message without any filters, people who are really, really meant to hear that, they showed up. And my entire tribe showed up when I stopped filtering the message. And I stopped being afraid, and I challenge some of my clients, because for some of them, it's still hard, they still kind of playing in these two realities, one foot here, one foot there. And I always kind of call them out on that and say, hey, this is the energy that you're leading. This is the people you're going to attract. Pick a side and be bold in your self-expression. Yes, you're going to alienate some people. That's great. Polarize them. But, nothing is more powerful right now than as a bold, courageous, and innovative, unique voice.
Yes, that's so true.
Right?
So on the marketing hat side, what you're talking about for anybody listening is you've had the ability to finally step into your own and develop your own person and your own voice message, and of not filtering it anymore, you're attracting the right people.
Yes.
Right. And then you're not middle of the road anymore, but you're not on the totally crazy side. You're basically on the polarizing side of like, I'm attracting the right people with the right message that are connecting with me. And I'd say that's one of the things I've seen with entrepreneurs. They fall down all the time is they're trying to be this middle of the road person and play everybody and be happy to everybody. Well, when you're like everybody else and you're like nobody and nobody listens to you.
That's right.
Yeah.
That is so, so true. That is so true. My good friend and the neighbor, brilliant marketer, Tony Teagarden, he's like, Katerina is just like this totally metaphysical person who knows how to sell shit.
Yeah.
And I thought it was so brilliant, because and this is what I do, Daryl. I combine spirituality and business together. And I'm like, hey, hippie world and new age people, stop trading your gifts for feathers and crystals. Mm-hmm. It's time to own your power. It's time to actually develop a business badass skill set like sales and running your own events, so you don't settle for scraps.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's ultimately up to them. Not everybody wants that path. Not everybody wants to walk the path of owning your power, looking at your insecurities and saying, I own my value. You know, because here's the thing. I was gonna do the live stream today about this, Daryl. When somebody comes to me, just had this enrollment conversation, when somebody comes to me with the big problem, they don't own their value, right? And we're going through the process, and then they want to trade services with me. I'm like, do you see the problem? You don't own yourself enough that you're stuck in this, primitive paradigm. And I'm not saying that trading is bad, but if you enter the business world, you got to learn the business rules.
Yeah.
You can't just bring this, herding mentality. Let's trade chickens and buckets and potatoes. You can't do that. Unless you want to, then call it as a gift. Hey, Daryl, I'm going to gift you my service. Don't call it a trade. Learn powerful business skills and learn and really step into the pro level of your game.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there, unquote, like the healers of the world, that are constantly trying to really devalue their gifts. And I think that's a little bit what you're addressing, which is good, because they really need that help. And I think you have an event coming up here in August, which will be talking about that, which is the buy ticket sales event, to help people basically own their value. And how do you help people overcome that? I don't even call it lack of confidence, but that lack of value on what they have for their abilities. I mean, for me personally, when I first got started out, working with people, I wasn't sure what to charge, what to do, and stuff like that. But when I'm able to have a conversation with somebody, and then they can go out and sell $886,000 worth of stuff in a couple hours, I own my value at that point, because if I not had that conversation with this gentleman, he would never done that. So what's my value on my time? Spend a couple hours with him is to yield those type of results. So I have no problem, telling people it's going to be $5,000-$10,000 to sit down and go through your stuff and deal with your head issues, because I have people well over 10xing the return on their time they're spending with me. So how are you, communicating and helping people like really own their value when you talk to them?
Yeah. I begin with storytelling, Daryl, because humans, our brains are wired for stories, as you and I both know. We both are great storytellers, because I want to get the subconscious mind a little bit in a trance, right? So the conscious mind doesn't resist as much, because it's a lot of fear comes up. So I begin telling them stories of other people who were in the same situation and what that's possible for them too, and I make it raw and real and transformative. I lead with transparency. I tell them my story. And in the way, it's all about really communicating to another soul. Oftentimes, I don't even know how I do it, Daryl. I often communicate like a soul archer, where you just see another person so deeply, and you believe in the power of your gifts, and you communicate that to them, and you simply show them a path, and you don't make them step on it. You say, hey, this is the path that you could be walking. And yes, you will need to learn communication way, how to articulate what is it you do in the world. And yes, you will need to start investing in yourself, because the universe mirrors your actions, right? And it's a process, but I start with the storytelling. I deeply see them, and I speak to their next level of identity. I would say that is my really high level ninja stuff, is I speak to the next level identity. I don't see them as a struggling person. I see them as this emerging leader, and I speak to that. And alchemy happens when you do that with people, right? And that is powerful. You begin to speak to the next level of identity. That is like a seed is already in them. And when you see them like that, look at what Tony Robbins does. It's a very similar approach. He speaks to the next level of identity of a person, and the old identity has no choice but to either fall away, right, or to metamorphose in the moment. That's alchemy to me.
And the event coming up here, what's the dates for that in August?
Yeah, that is August 18th, 19th, and 20th in Los Angeles.
And if somebody was listening to this and they wanted to learn more about that event or how to learn more about you, where would they go for that?
They would go to my private Facebook page, which is my lighthouse, and send me a private message. I am very, very easy to reach. I would say that's the best way. Just find me on Facebook, Katerina Satoria. My personal page is the best one. Send me a private message.
Okay. Well, anything else you'd like to share with everybody out there today? First of all, I'd like to say thank you for coming and sharing your story with us, coming from a pack of crackers and $3 in your pocket to now throwing trips and wild adventures in Hawaii, which is going to be amazing. So, I mean, I say congratulations in such a short period of time.
Yeah, thank you, Daryl. Thank you. It's an honor to share. And my only last words is for people to remember that there is no thing as rock bottom unless they decide that that's the definition that they want to give. And there is always a next breath where you can begin a completely new chapter of your life. If you have a next breath, you have a new chapter. And if you just remember that, then you can recreate yourself over and over and over again. And your story, no matter how dire it is or how fantastic it is, we write stories in this beautiful book of life. So I honor you and I honor the listeners. Thank you for spending this time with me. And I hope you'll get me back on your show.
I hope so too. I'm sure we will soon enough. Maybe we'll be in Hawaii.
Yes, live stream in Hawaii.
All right. Thanks, everybody.